and let us all do we can to build a better future.
All right, we're going to talk about it. Ripping this Band-Aid off. Elon Musk. I know. Shh. Everyone, shush. Everyone, I need you all to calm down. Just calm down for a second. So apparently, Elon Musk, he's been gaining a lot of traction on the social media, and I've got my criticisms for him as well. Musk recently made a visit to Israel, but he also kind of told Disney and the corporations who are telling him that, hey, we're going to remove our advertising from you. He told them to go F themselves. So there's a lot to unpack with this story. And I got two videos of perspectives from Nico House and Glenn Greenwald, because I think it's important that we look at this issue of overall the future of speech on the internet, on social media. I want to say I'm ever hopeful that there is a bright spot, that maybe we are going into calmer seas, but experience has taught me and Daniel and probably all of you that always expect the worst. It's always important not to be certain on issues when it comes down to social media. Hardlens Media, we've been censored 8 times on YouTube. Still alive thanks to you, our beautiful audience. But there is some uncertainty, and I'm very curious about the future of Twitter, X now as it's called. But this goes across all social media, because speech is fundamentally important. So let's first of all play the video in question that seemed to have shocked all of the media. Just one little excerpt from it. So let's go ahead and play it for all you wonderful people. Viewer discretion should be advised. There's some shocking foul language. You've never heard it before.
Obviously, you know that there's a public perception that, and you're clarifying this now, but there's a public perception that was part of a apology tour, if you will, that this had been said online. There was all of the criticism. There was advertisers leaving. We talked to Bob Iger today.
I hope they stop.
You hope?
Don't advertise.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go fuck yourself.
But
go fuck yourself.
On the one hand, I hear what you're saying. On the other hand, look, there's a lot of Twitter accounts who have been censored. A lot of hashtags that have been censored as well. I know a good friend of the show, Case Study QB, still has some problems impacting his Twitter account. And mind you, it happened before Elon took over. I just wish that the censorship would be lifted off of Case Study, because it's starting to get a little stupid. Just a little stupid, But nonetheless, it is interesting seeing the upper echelon of society kind of go at each other. Now, there's many people in positions of power that don't like Elon Musk, and I know there's many people who have criticism towards all the establishment, because this is a fight between those who have all the money and the power. But we also use many of these social media platforms, which kind of goes to the argument of these social media platforms should be public utilities. We should at least be able to speak our minds freely and clearly without the risk of losing it all, because that stamp of censorship, that jackboot of silence, will easily crush us all.
Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob, if you're in the audience.
Well, let me ask you then.
That's how I feel. Don't advertise.
Bob, who could that be? Probably Bob Iger from Walt Disney. Now, I did a segment on yesterday's show talking about Walt Disney and or the Disney company and how it's going under, to which I have to say I'm happy about it. They're not going to earn $1 billion movie at the end of 2023, which is fantastic, but that's a story and a rant for another day. Rotten hell, Disney.
How do you think then about the economics of X? If part of the underlying model, at least today, and maybe it needs to shift, maybe the answer is it needs to shift away from advertising. If you believe that this is the one part of your business where you will be beholden to those who have this view, what do you do?
Why?
I understand that, but there's a reality too.
Boy, Jesus Christ, man. This guy up here doing the questions. You're doing a piss poor job. He just said F you. And so there you go. FY. There you go. All right. Now, I'm not one to tell another person how to run their interviews, but once you hear that, like, okay, you tell people to F off. Why are you so passionate about that? Don't say, hey, there's a reality of it. Hey, if Elon's in charge of Twitter, whether we like it or not, I mean, the ink is already dry. He said a gold statement. You just can't say, hey, there's a reality of the situation. No. Push on it more. Expand on it. Tell us why you said that.
Right?
Yes. No.
I mean, Linda Yaccarino's right here, and she's got to sell advertising.
Absolutely. So, totally. So, no. Actually, what this advertising boycott is going to do, it's going to kill the company.
And do you think that
and the whole world will know that those advertisers killed the company, and we will document it in great detail.
But those advertisers, I imagine, are going to say, we didn't kill the company.
Oh yeah.
They're going to say,
tell it to Earth.
But they're going to say, Elon, that you killed the company because you said these things, and that they were inappropriate things, and that they didn't feel comfortable on the platform. Right? That's what they're going to say.
And let's see how Earth responds to that.
Now, I know we are all addicted to social media, and I think Twitter is one of those platforms that we all use. Nobody rage quits Twitter. No one leaves Twitter. It's one big cesspool. It's one big sewer. We're all swimming in it. And it's addicting. It's probably the most number one used social media platform in which we communicate ideas through photos, videos, words, etc. And these corporations don't have a really clear, clean track record. Neither does Elon Musk, by the way. He's no saint either. But when it comes down to corporations, people have been spewing out their perspectives on how they really feel about it. So I want to pull up this video analysis of Glenn Greenwald, who gives his perspective. And I also want to pull up Nico House as well in regards to Elon Musk's visit to Israel that he did a few days before. So let's pull up this video here in question and talk about it.
Now, anyone who works in journalism, anyone who works in media, and who has worked within the standard model of how journalism has operated in the United States for decades, which is the model of corporate advertising, knows that that model imposes extremely severe restraints on what media outlets can and can't do. There are certain journalists that they can't hire because the journalists will say things that will offend corporate advertisers on whom they depend in order to survive as a media outlet. Of course, relying on corporate advertisers severely restricts the kinds of opinions you can air, the types of perspectives you can permit, the kind of reporting you can do. What's so amazing about this is that if you're a journalist, the thing that you should hate more than anything is any force or any influence that tries to limit your freedom to speak. Your reaction, if you're actually just a journalist in terms of your composition, your comportment, your personality, your mentality, when even thinking there might be someone or something trying to limit your freedom to speak, should be exactly what Elon Musk said there. Go fuck yourself.
Now, he's absolutely correct. Glenn Greenwald bringing that up. But Elon Musk and Twitter have its own fair share of problems, with accounts being censored and suppressed, channels that are being ignored. I mean, it's an ongoing issue, and we've been talking about censorship. Hard Lens Media, I think we're one of the leading experts on what it's like to have a channel be censored and suppressed. Other channels have been hit hard and have not yet recovered. Other channels are starting over, and it's not a good thing to witness because we are living in very dangerous times in which speech is at risk of being lost forever. Some have argued that, hey, we're already there and we're just all just playing the game now and none of us are refusing or acknowledging the fact that it's already over. Well, it's not over yet. It's not over yet. Don't give up. The fight for free speech must remain. But this should also show all of you the power that these corporations have and what big tech has over our lives. We use social media. It's part of our lives. It's part of our currency. It's how we do business. It's how we communicate. And unfortunately, much of our media is being looked into. We've had many heroic whistleblowers who said to us that, hey, we're being spied in on. Hey, you're being looked into. Hey, your emails are being opened by another party. Or, hey, your data is being sold to a third party. It's an uncomfortable truth, but this is the world we live in.
There was only one time in my entire journalism career when I perceived that somebody was trying to limit what I wanted to say. That was when The Intercept refused to publish my article right before the 2020 election that reported on and analyzed the documents from Hunter Biden's laptop and what it revealed about Joe Biden. And when I saw The Intercept wasn't going to publish my article unless I made radical changes to it that gutted the entire thing so that it was no longer critical of Joe Biden, I quit. And I didn't contemplate or deliberate much at all. What went wrong here is not what Elon Musk said. It's so revealing that so many journalists and people who call themselves journalists and work for media corporations are aghast that anyone would dare tell Disney and major corporations to go fuck yourself when they're trying to limit and censor and control the flow of political content. If you aren't willing to say that to corporations who are trying to limit what you can say, don't bother calling yourself a journalist. And so I think it's very telling and interesting that Musk got to the point where he said it, but I think even more telling is the fact that so many journalists were horrified. We need way more journalists willing to say, go fuck yourself to people who try and limit what they say. The problem is that the people who are hired by these major media corporations and who thrive in them and succeed in them are people who have the opposite instinct. Their instinct is to assuage and serve and placate establishment power, not to defy it. Even though the purpose of journalism is to be adversarial to establishment power, once journalism started getting corporatized, no longer owned by families dedicated to journalism or local communities, but major corporations that have all kinds of other interests besides their media division. And what kind of attributes are awarded to major corporations? People who avoid controversy, who avoid conflict.
Yep, that's why the media sucks. That's why a lot of major movies and entertainment suck now, too. Everything's being played safe, not to trigger controversy. You know, because the whole idea of journalism is to challenge those in power, be they CEOs or politicians, anyone in a position of power. You have to, as a journalist, be antagonistic. And, well, MSNBC, CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, Fox News, CBS, ABC, no, they're not doing that. That's not how they operate. It's about having access to politicians, having access to those in the higher echelon of society, and not be adversarial, but to say, oh, look how nice it all is as the world burns outside of the ivory tower that they all exist in. Scary times we live in, especially when you have big tech also putting its jackboot of censorship on independent media.
To avoid displeasing and angering powerful people. That's the corporate ethos. And the corporatization of media meant that that kind of attribute was imported into journalism. And that's why no one almost who works for large media corporations or the media corporations themselves has the courage to say this. They're shocked. They think it's a sign that he's unhinged, when in reality, it's just a sign of how cowardly and craven they are.
Now, I want to pull up this other video here. Now, this is from another perspective, in which Nico House, who has part of Hotspot, calls out Elon Musk because big tech plays a role in censorship. So I think it's important that we hear from his perspective and point of view as well. Nico House has been on our show before. Shout out to Nico. So everybody sit back. This is another side, especially in regards towards censorship and the uncertain future that we are all, well, heading into.
So Elon Musk goes full Zionist after he was dragged on his little leash around Israel by Netanyahu after being called anti-Semitic after some recent comments he made on Twitter. Now, we are going to talk about Elon's comments that he made while talking to Bibi after his little visit to Israel. But before we get into that, anybody want to tell me why a billionaire is going to Israel for diplomatic reasons to begin with? Is Elon Musk a president? Is Elon Musk an ambassador? Does bro even have a political science degree? The answer is no, no, and no. Elon is a tech billionaire who owns X and prides himself on allegedly being a free speech absolutist. And therein lies the problem. See, there have been a lot of Israel's lies being debunked on all social media, but especially, of course, on Twitter.
Yes. And when it comes down to Twitter, there are still many accounts that are being censored or suppressed or shadow banned. It's an unfortunate thing. I wish that wasn't the case, but it always puts a pin in my stomach when I see more people that I do follow on social media saying, "Hey, my account got canceled. Hey, I just been censored. Hey, how come I'm losing followers?" It is something that's all too real that every one of us who have a social media platform have to deal with. Even you, the viewing audience, because let's face it, before Elon did take over, there were numerous times when Facebook or Twitter would make sure that you couldn't share an article or a video on your own social media platform because it was deemed controversial. It's not like they'll ever do that again. We could trust them this time, right?
And if you're Bibi Netanyahu, it's a little inconvenient to have all that truth just floating around when you're trying to justify a genocide. And we also know that Musk doesn't only own X, but is constantly calling out for attention by making tweets, giving the illusion of being insightful, like a 4-year-old who is looking for validation because he didn't get enough attention from his father. Now, because of his willingness to constantly interact on X, he has a lot of influence. And people are willing to echo things that Musk says because those impressions equal paychecks now. So Musk, like a good little billionaire puppet, hit a little move whenever Israel started pulling them strings. And his little remarks after that propaganda tour he went on should make everyone question this principled man that they had always thought Musk was. Example, Musk says that terms such as decolonization and from river to the sea will result in a suspension from X. He says that decolonization and from the river to the sea are euphemisms that necessarily imply genocide. I really hope I don't have to explain the irony of a white South African whose family became millionaires from exploiting an apartheid South Africa, saying that decolonization is necessarily genocidal. But this also implies that he thinks that the word colonization isn't inherently genocidal. And I feel like there are some indigenous Americans who might want to have a conversation with him about that. Up until literally October 7th, even the ADL, which is a Zionist group, never considered from river to the sea to be a genocidal statement or anti-Semitic statement. But
Yeah. And there's plenty of right now posts on social media, or at least from APAC and stories that we covered, saying how there must be more accountability and censorship, or either that, maybe deplatforming people. Remember, AOC a long time ago said deplatforming works. Censorship. Never embrace it, because someday even you yourself will be put on that chopping block. Be consistent. Support free speech, because if you don't, one day you may have to speak and no one will listen because you were silenced.
Elon fans, y'all getting banned for saying words now on X? This is y'all free speech king? This is y'all king? And this motherfucker has the audacity to say kids need better education in Gaza because they were fed propaganda as children, and that's why they don't like Israel. First of all, Elon, where the fuck the kids gonna go to school at? Israel has destroyed everything. Schools, hospitals, homes, dog houses. But it's crazy to me that you can look at the sheer destruction of what's happening in Gaza or the destruction that's happening in the West Bank where there is no Hamas and be like, yeah, it's definitely propaganda that is making kids hate Israel. It isn't the fact that they're bulldozing their homes. It isn't the fact that they're stealing their land with impunity. It isn't the fact that kids are being kidnapped, thrown in jail, being tortured, having their fingers broken, and they aren't even being charged with a crime. Yeah, Elon, it's the propaganda. That's why the kids hate Israel, for sure. That's it. But what's even more disgusting, while he's on this little crusade of banning harmful speech and misinformation on X now, you know, Mr. Free Speech Elon, but what's even more wild is that he didn't have the balls to, one, challenge Netanyahu, or two, talk about the fact that they have been spreading misinformation all over Twitter. First it was 1,400, then it was 1,150, then it was 40 beheaded babies. Then it was only one dead infant, and it turned out Israel killed him. Then it was kids were getting cooked in ovens. Then it turns out, nope, they were just bombed by Israeli tanks. Israel has gotten caught lying over and over and over again without impunity. But all of a sudden, the first time Elon wants to finally hold someone accountable for misinformation, it's everyone else for telling the truth about Israel? I cannot believe y'all.
And I will say this, on a side note, I'm thoroughly impressed overall the kind of pushback that people have been giving, especially in regards to the crisis that's been taking place in Gaza, and how the media even is aghast and shocked at how there are anti-war protests and people still continuously speaking out. But yet, remember, folks, this is the sick machine that we live in which the corporations and the establishment, they're like a big dumb animal. They're incapable of really understanding the needs or the views of the people because they are stuck in their own environment. And the thing is, it will use every ounce of its power to try and control any narrative that's going to be outside of its perspective. So this criticism towards Elon Musk, it's valid, absolutely valid. Because there is censorship still around. There are still accounts being censored. But I think we have to be consistent here and look at an alternative in regards to how we can still maintain our ability to call out those in power. And the future of social media is one big question mark. I will not sit here and say that everything's going to be A-okay and everything's going to be fine, because that's not true at all. Just a side note, in 2020, when Biden got elected into office, Heartland's Media, as did every other person in independent media, got gut-checked with censorship. And yes, there were some troubling times during the Trump years, but I'm going to just say this, just from my opinion. It was turned up to 11 after 2020.
I thought that the richest man in the world, who made the majority of his money from government subsidies and Pentagon contracts, was somehow supposed to be this savior, this free speech savior. Nah, I thought it was a pretty safe bet. The white South African apartheid baby supports the apartheid state of Israel. I don't see how you could have thought that there was going to be any other conclusion.
So shout out to Nico House, speaking truth to power, as always. So what's the final analysis? What could we really take from this in regards towards the future of speech, the future of Twitter, whether or not there will be a platform for all of us to call out those in power? Nothing is ever certain. I think I find it interesting that Elon Musk did go on this tour in Israel, and then afterwards, in front of the world, just tell advertisers to go F themselves, because people still in the establishment want to say that, oh, what he's been tweeting out or what he tweeted out in the past was anti-Semitic. Okay, fine. And then you have advertisers saying, we won't advertise on your platform. So be it, advertisers. It's not the first time advertisers ruined something. And Elon's not wrong on that. Advertisers have ruined a lot of things. Case in point, when the media used all of its power to finally worm its way onto YouTube. I'm bringing up that old story. So a long time ago, a lot of us were abandoning corporate media. CNN and MSNBC and the establishment didn't like that because, well, television and cable news and everything in its atmosphere was just so boring, and people wanted to move on. So what did the establishment media do? Outlets like the Washington Post, Huffington Post, Vice, BuzzFeed, Vox, CNN, ABC, CBS, CNN, what did they all do? They started looking at YouTubers and content creators, and oh my goodness, they started really starting to dig deep. And then they started finding random low-level YouTubers, the really questionable out there kind of people. Because some of their videos were monetized, and oh no, advertisers were playing, and advertisers were told about this, and advertisers got upset about it. And so the media turned it up to 11 and started lumping in every single content creator on YouTube. They even had the audacity to confuse PewDiePie, who was wearing a British Bombardier outfit from World War II. Again, British Bombardier outfit, and saying that he was wearing a Luftwaffe outfit. German Luftwaffe outfit, British Bombardier outfit. Two different things altogether, and advertisers and corporate media pushed all its weight, bullied YouTube, and that's why we have the fantastic algorithm that suppresses independent media, but not only independent media, other content creators who cover different types of genre, be it entertainment, fun, food, etc. That's right. The algorithm, the big dumb animal that we live with today. So yeah, advertisers and corporate media now weighing in on Twitter or any other social media platform, threatening to remove advertising. Fine, but you're killing it. And people will know. People should know the power of corporate media and advertisers, and really just how ridiculous they are. But big tech has played a role too. It is our social responsibility now to remain consistent in the fight for free speech, accountability. It's also our job to remember that journalism, media, and yes, all of you as citizen journalists as well, need to be adversarial, to call out those who abuse power. We can get to a better day. We can get to a better time when maybe speech is protected. But it's eternal vigilance so that we can continue to speak out. Don't look to some billionaire or politician to save the day. It's up to us collectively. Stand against censorship now more than ever. And keep your heads on a swivel, folks. 2024, it's coming our way. Stay strong.